Real challenges came after I've settled in.
I think a lot of like immigrants or newcomers would also relate to the experience of, kasi po nahihiya po ako to show na nahihirapan ako in front of my family. Tsaka rin po if I know na the slightest door I open of like being emotionally vulnerable, talagang bubuhos na lahat ng tears. And I know na when I show that, yung parents ko mag-alala, and ayoko rin sila mag-alala kasi parang naging helpless sila sa situation kasi ang layo nila. So, nangyayari is kinikimkim ko, and sometimes like, may mga times I would cry in silence, and sometimes parang yung silent cry na parang maano lang yung tears sa pillow, like just flowing down, pero ayaw mong ilabas lahat kasi I'm also living with relatives. I don't want them to worry. I don't know how thin the walls are too, but yeah, ang ginagawa ko is usually I just close it, like keep it to myself, and sometimes I learn to kind of close it out, and sometimes crying it out is the best form of like healing. But of course, there's also other ways, like I'm also thankful that I had that safe space to open it up with my classmates at the time, or like even with my colleagues. In between shifts, parang napapa-open up ka din na parang, like, I miss mom and dad, ganyan. And so that's, I would say whenever you're dealing with homesickness, there is no one quick fix. Sometimes like it just drags on for days, and then parang little by little it gets better.
1 year gone in a flash. But my journey in Canada felt like neither the end nor merely a stopover. I wanted to make it my home.
Somewhere along the way is when I decided I really want to stay in Canada longer. But I hadn't pre-planned, or I hadn't planned it further enough to see that as part of my future na parang I can become a permanent resident here. Dun po nag-kick in yung doubts and yung fear ko po of like failing. Especially when I think about yung external factors na, okay, my parents gave me this opportunity. I'm also living with relatives who were kind enough to welcome me in their home. Parang the least I can do is like not mess up my timeline or mess up my plans. So when I encounter like mga setbacks or like challenges, like I really take it to heart. And may moments po talaga na I felt like parang back against the wall because I had no control over the situation at one point na in my immigration journey.
With my post-grad work permit ticking down, the clock would decide if I could stay in Canada or pack my bags.
So, dami talaga mga like spiraling into like anxiety kasi I'm also thinking like in the short amount of time there, I'm not as accomplished. Hindi pa ako makapag-apply for permanent residence kasi you have to be invited to apply. Or at least the immigration program that I was eyeing meant na I had to be invited. So anyway, when my work permit was about to expire, I remember booking my flight na.
How would my parents feel?
Yung po yung how do I say this? Parang yun po yung mas masakit sa akin kasi I know na regardless of what I do, parang open arms pa rin po yung parents ko. Like, they would say na, of course, they've always reassured me then that regardless of the outcome, yung initial investment nila was to give me an education in Canada. Anything that comes beyond that is like the cherry on top. And for them, I know them that they won't fault me for any of my shortcomings. Like for them, parang napaaral ka namin, na-experience mo na yung kailangan mo experience in Canada. If hindi man matuloy, you'll find your footing back here in the Philippines. And if it goes well, then good for you. Dun po ako yung nalulungkot kasi alam kong kahit anong gawin ko, like they're always gonna be welcoming me with open arms.
This added more pressure on me.
A really huge support system for me was really yung relatives ko po. My cousin, to be specific, kasi he's kind of like a brother from another mother na parang I've learned to like treat as like someone I can be open with. I also had yung support of, at the time, yung boyfriend ko po. We were probably a year into dating, And he's seen everything, like also like yung mga anxiety nights ko, just kind of getting yung parang yung panic attack of like, shucks, like what if hindi mag-work out and parang everything that I've worked hard on here would it just be for nothing po? So he's seen that aspect, and both of them played a key role kasi po they were the ones who encouraged me to start vlogging.
I kept looking for ways to extend my stay and inspired me to vlog my journey. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers!
Yung boyfriend ko po was also like, think of it this way na lang na while you're in this limbo, not a lot of students that are going through what you're going through have the time to kind of share their experiences, right? Kasi as a student, as a part-time worker then, who has the time to like break down this information? So he was telling me na, I think this is a good time to talk about your experiences, level with people na parang it's not just seeing life through rose-colored glasses na this is the Canadian dream. I think part of it is beautiful for sure, but I think also people have to be aware of the downsides para you can manage their expectations better and they can make better or informed decisions about going forward with Canada. So dun po nag-start yung vlogging ko na explaining the process of what it took for me to become a student, to like being vulnerable about going through the immigration journey. Because at the time, nagvo-vlog po ako, hindi po ako PR. I was on a visitor record, so I couldn't work. And parang a lot of things were hanging on the line na yun po naging outlet ko of like, okay, you know what, instead of iiyak na lang ako or magsasulk na lang ako in the corner, why not channel this energy doing something more meaningful and paying it forward para the next person doesn't have to go through what I did in terms of yung mga panic attacks and all that. At least they'll feel grounded na, as someone understands what I'm going through then, and at least I can relate to that experience.
Then came the ultimate pause button. COVID shut the world down along with my plans.
At the time po, it was actually quite grave. I mean, facing a global pandemic is something that no one's ever been prepared for. And I found myself again back against the wall in terms of, okay, I'm on a visitor record living in Canada where I can't work, so my finances were dwindling. I'm torn between staying here where it's not practical or moving back or like flying back to the Philippines where also, yung pandemic noon is very like scary. Like that might, if I did go back home, that might also, I might lose the opportunity entirely to like see Canada again. So those are very serious, big questions. And on top of that, there's this whole pandemic na it's not just like, parang nas naging minute yung problems ko of like where to stay. It now became more like, can I survive through all this on top of like what's going on with the world right now? So yeah, that's where majority of yung panic attacks really kicked in kasi those were big questions, and at the time I was already just 25 years old, and so I was just kind of, what do I really know? Like, parang I'm doubting my decisions.
After finally receiving the news that I could already apply for a visa, it felt like a fresh start and another chance to chase my maple dreams.
Exponentially, it has to get better. Pero when you go through this process, talagang may highs and lows. And paminsan the lows are longer and the highs are shorter. But overall, it's all transformative po. I think I've grown a lot as a person through this experience. I think that the lessons I've learned here, I wouldn't have learned if I just stayed back.
Dito mo ba natagpuan sa Canada ang hinahanap ng puso mo?
I don't think you should look at Canada as the end goal. Regardless of the outcome, whether Canada works out for you or not, you always take something, or you always learn something about yourself.